gosh, my nose is so itchy. All right. You've heard of the Vietnam War and all the scary stuff, haven't you?
Nope. Never heard that.
This is where the music is. I'm doing the thing. The music.
Go ahead.
The intro.
Go ahead.
During the Vietnam War, U.S. built night vision devices with red-colored output, as opposed to the classic green color that you've probably seen in movies and video games. The theory was that night vision goggles that were red would allow the soldiers' eyes to maintain daylight sensitivities and more easily switch from day to night because the red-colored light doesn't force the eye to adapt to low-light conditions. So they say red light also stimulates the brain's neurons to increase reflex time and spatial awareness. There was about a 60-day period where the United States issued these red night vision goggles and they were being tested. It only took about a week before the soldiers' behavior changed completely and they were reported seeing some mysterious or ghostly things.
Ooh.
This is
Country Roads
Creeps. And we're out of sync today.
That's okay.
Tell me why.
This is just quick note for listeners. This is an episode being recorded in advance for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
If we say anything that seems out of place for whatever's happening in the current timeline, that's why.
Speaking of the current timeline, did you see the painting of the King of England?
Yeah, where they like reversed it.
Yeah, they reversed it, and it's like a Baphomet.
Yeah,
that's neat.
I don't know what to.
That's cool.
Do about that.
I'm like, everybody knows that I'm like a conspiracy theorist. So like,
you don't say.
Some of the stuff is like I've mentioned to people, and they're like, yeah, of course you would believe that, but how many times are they going to put like demons and Baphomets in artwork of political officials before you're like, hey, there might be something.
There's a little bit of a pattern
to all this, like people in high power and devil worship. Like,
yeah,
can we just acknowledge that it might be the thing? Like, anyway, speaking of spirit cooking,
What? Spirit cooking?
Spirit cooking is a thing that, man, you're really way behind. This is a 2015 conspiracy, and even before that. Spirit cooking is like a ritual thing that they would do. I forget what like the purpose of it was, but it's like that Huma Abedin lady, who's like good friends with the Clintons and the Podestas and stuff, does like these rituals, and we'll have to do like an episode on like some of this like high magic, devil worship, politics stuff eventually, I guess, but because I can't remember what is all involved in it, but there's like,
spooky.
It's like crazy, and they're like, oh yeah, the Clintons did this spirit cooking with Huma Abedin. It's like, you don't think that like maybe being a presidential candidate, maybe you should avoid doing like things that even look close to devil worship, like,
yeah, you would
like,
think.
Hey, maybe don't like.
You would think.
Like maybe like if you're on the campaign trail, don't summon demons with some like artistic lady from Europe who everybody already thinks is a Satanist. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get into the episode. This is about night vision. Red phosphorus night vision.
Okay.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I am. Your intro was intriguing, and I have not heard anything about this. I didn't know that red was an option on night vision.
Well, we're going to get into it. Jeez.
Okay, don't ask me a question ever again. If you don't want a response, don't ask a question.
I like asking you the question and be like, we're going to get into it. Don't, like,
Yeah.
So.
Do you want a co-host or not?
You know what I do want is for people to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Country Roads Creeps. And if you like the show, not even asking you to love it, if you just like it a little.
If you can tolerate it.
If you can tolerate it, leave us a 5-star review on your preferred podcasting platform.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Here we go.
The By the way, I listened to a really fascinating episode of a podcast today on the 1991, I think it's in Austin, yogurt shop murders.
What?
Really, really interesting. These, like, 4 teenage girls went to this yogurt shop. I guess one of them worked there and was closing. And then it caught on fire. And then the next day, the police and the fire department went in and found the 4 girls dead. And they had been shot in the head.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like a big mystery on how... Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't finished it yet, but it's very fascinating.
Horrible.
So we might have to do some looking into like some cases like that where it's like what they're sort of true crimey, but it's like how
just weird.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a normal,
not a normal true crime case.
Yeah, it's like it's not like, I don't know, I've said this before, but it's like it's not like hey, a lady was murdered and guess what? It's her ex-husband. And like how a lot of true crime stuff is, but it's like, so like what in the world? And I think it's still unsolved, at least as of this point in this episode that I'm listening to. It's unsolved.
You haven't made it to the end yet.
I haven't made it to the solved part. But you know what else I want to do? We're going to save it for the end, the business meeting at the end. Never mind.
Okay, yeah, get back on track. Tell your story.
In Vietnam era of the United States and the rest of the world, I guess, at the same time.
Okay.
Rest of the world existed during the Vietnam War. They say that the United States developed red phosphorus night vision and issued it to troops, and then they started seeing ghosts. I'm going to get into that.
Crazy sentence.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
I'm going to get into that on page 2. Page 1 of my notes is on the history of night vision.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
So this is for, oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Oh, get away. Go. Get out of here. Go.
What'd you do?
I hit the news on my tablet. Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm ready.
Just regroup.
First night vision ever.
Tell me.
So, first ever night vision they are calling Jin 0. And in 1929, Hungarian physicist Kalman Tihanyi, Tihanyi, I think, invented an infrared sensitive electronic television camera for anti-aircraft defense in the United Kingdom. And night vision as like a sighting system offensively was introduced in Germany as early as 1939, but they started developing some of it as early as 1935. So some of the first tests were with infrared night vision devices and telescopic rangefinders mounted on Panther tanks. They had a range of about 600 meters, which is pretty far, but I thought Joey, who we mentioned before on the show, he retired as a tank commander. And he was like, yeah, so nowadays we can shoot like 12 miles with a tank.
Gosh.
So it's like way far.
Yeah.
They've got all kinds of crazy technology in the tanks he's told me about before. That's like, so it just does it.
Yeah.
Like you can shoot forever away. But these night vision devices that they had on the tanks had a range of about 600 meters. They had like 50 of them. There weren't very many. They were on the eastern and western fronts of World War II because Germany was fighting in Western Europe, and then they tried to invade through Russia and stuff too. So, but they were used in a bunch of locations. The next one that came out a little bit later is called the Vampire Man Portable System, or the ZG-1229. That was used with the Wehrmacht and their STG-44 rifles, the Sturmgewehr rifles, which is, I think, as far as I know, the first ever assault rifle that you would think of like in modern day, but they were super heavy. They were 33 pounds, and that included, it had a sight that was like your actual night vision sight. It had a searchlight and a pack frame, and the battery for the actual night vision sight. And then it had a second battery fitted inside of a gas mask container that powered the image converter. And they had the actual light had to be ran off of power. And from what I've read, a lot of them were just like a normal tungsten bulb that they put an IR filter over.
Okay.
So it's pretty primitive, like compared to what we have now.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. I was just talking to Joey today, and he was like, yeah, it's crazy. They had like all these packs and all these like the cases for batteries and stuff that they had to carry around. And it really was not good.
Yeah.
Or it was heavy, and you just might as well not even use it, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, it's a tungsten bulb that's just shining through a filter that allowed only the IR light to shine through. So they were using those towards the end of the war. This is like February 1945, and if I remember correctly, Adolf Hitler killed himself in April of 1945.
That sounds right to me.
I want to say. They had something like 310 units of those that were like carried by man. They had some similar night vision devices that were used with the MG-34 and the MG-42 machine guns, which really seems a lot more reasonable because those are typically like mounted on something or on some kind of like defensive position. So you're not just carrying it around everywhere. The United States was developing these for use during World War II, and with the M1 and the M3 night sighting devices that were known as the sniper scope or the snooper scope. And they saw some limited use with some snipers in World War II and a little bit in Korea. Those were active devices that used a large infrared light source. So they had like basically a big searchlight, and that lit everything up for the IR device that you could actually look through. But the image intensifier tube used an anode and an S1 photocathode that was made of silver, cesium, and oxygen, and electrostatic inversion with electron acceleration was used to achieve the gain. So how bright, or, well, not really brightness, but how much light it would amplify at any given time. So if it was super dark, you might have to turn your gain up. And then if it's a little bit brighter outside, then you can turn it down and get a little bit clearer image. Anyway, the Soviets were field testing their PAL-2, PAU-2 in 1942. And then the British developed some Gen Zero stuff, but it was basically the same big, bulky, heavy cases and packs and everything, and required an IR light to be used at all. So they're just develop this thing to see at night. You have to have all this other equipment to actually be able to use it. The Generation 1 stuff shows up in Vietnam. So that's primarily what we're going to be talking about. The United States developed these in the 60s. They relied on ambient light to work instead of the huge batteries and IR lights and stuff. They still needed moonlight, which somewhat is an issue today, depending on what you're doing and what kind of technology you have. It was a lot worse back then. There's actually what they call zero lume nights, which is, if anybody's ever looked into like the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound, they chose specifically a zero lume night because there's no moon, and there was, I think they said that there was like very little ambient light from any buildings around where the compound was. And so there's literally no extra light to be found. And at the time, they're using the night vision technology is like Gen 3, but it's still like it barely works. It's if there's no ambient light, because it doesn't just allow you to see at night. It requires some kind of light to be able to amplify it. So
right. So that was like pro was that it was hard for them to be seen, but con was they couldn't see themselves.
sort of, yeah. It's a lot better than it was in the 60s. So you can still see it's just really a pretty grainy image. And given that, like, it's still like a pretty big, for a military unit, it's a really huge force multiplier for that kind of situation. But still, it's not like you can just, you see super clear in the movies and the video games. It's not like that at all in real life. So, anyway, the devices themselves were still kind of bulky for Gen 1, given what they were. But you start seeing the PVS-1 and the PVS-6 night vision devices. We're going to get into in Gen 2, they had the Gen 2 PVS-7s, which, if anybody has ever played I guess really seen any like SWAT or like Navy SEAL movie from the 80s or 90s or something, or has played the Splinter Cell video games. The Splinter Cell guy has a PVS-7. It's like covers both eyes, but it only has one tube on the front. It kind of looks stupid. And it's a really narrow field of view, but you look like a Cyclops.
That's what I was just about to say. It sounds like a Cyclops.
Yeah, so I think there was a like a European model of a PVS-7 or a Russian model of a PVS-7 kind of looking thing that they actually called the Cyclops.
Oh, well,
I want to say that. I could be wrong, but if you look up a picture of the Splinter Cell guy, that's what the PVS-7 is. So
okay,
that's not I don't know. I'll be proven wrong. Somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, he has two eyes on this one." It's like, I mean, like the PlayStation 2 Splinter Cell game, like original Xbox Splinter Cell. That guy has a PVS-7. Gen 2 was like 20 times better though. So they and like, I mean that literally. I don't know what measure of light amplification they're using, like how they're actually measuring it, but they said you get about 1,000 lume out of the Gen 1 stuff. Gen 2 is like 20,000. So, and Gen 3 is like 60. So, for like 40 to 60, depending on what you have, I think it was. But anyway, the higher the resolution of the image that you could intensify, you would have a little bit less grain in the Gen 2 stuff. So they had both of those, a higher resolution and less grain in the image. And they would work better on those zero lume nights where you don't have any ambient light and no moon or anything. So Gen 3 is even, like I said, double gooder than Gen 2. So that was developed actually in the 80s. Higher resolution. They started using gallium arsenide and filmed or unfilmed lenses, and the photonic amplifier is either filmed or unfilmed. So just all around better things and better technology. So we don't really have like an official Gen 4 or Gen 5 that's available to the public yet. There's some supposed like super Gen stuff that they say like Gen 2 plus or Gen 3 plus. It's not really, nothing higher than Gen 3 is available to the public. Like, which by the way, the people who, if you live in America, in a free country, you can just order this stuff, buy it from online and have it shipped to your door. I've heard there's some night vision forums that I'm in on like Facebook, and there's people like, I can't get night vision in Germany. They've outlawed it. And so it's illegal. You can only have like night vision that's rated for like airsoft. So like cheap Chinese stuff. But
that's interesting.
So they've outlawed a lot of the technology. And it's all controlled by ITAR, so you can only get American stuff in America. You are not, if you're a night vision or thermal manufacturer. There's a few other things that are involved in ITAR. It's like import trade regulation stuff that you're not allowed to ship it to like China, basically. You can only ship it in America or other friendly countries for very specific reasons, and you have to get ITAR approval on certain stuff. And the same thing, if you're going to ship anything in, you can't, there's like huge fees that go along with it. It's kind of crazy. But if you live in America, you can just buy night vision and have it shipped to your door. So the
USA.
yeah. And you can go stargazing. So that's like what 90% of people use it for is like just to look at stars, because you can see way more stars
Yeah, that's really
than
cool.
what you would ever be able to see like with the naked eye.
Yeah.
So, anyway, red phosphorus is what we're doing today. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Red phosphorus comes okay. Let me back up like 2 steps. The phosphorus colors themselves come from exactly what you would think. It's literally phosphorus screens. These phosphor screens for the light amplification materials makes that kind of classic look from the movies and the video games, the green, like monochrome green. It sounds to me, I don't know that this is true. I've never seen like images through the older generation, like the Gen Zero stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It would appear that, at least from what I've read, it's monochrome, like kind of grayish for the very first iteration of the stuff. Just because it's IR and they're projecting it onto like, because in 1929 they used the first IR sensitive TV camera for anti-aircraft stuff. So I'd imagine it's more monochrome black and white kind of deal than it is green. But as they go on, you get like a green kind of color. And it's decided on green because they said that was the color that's less fatiguing to look at for long periods of time. And humans can distinguish more colors of green than any other color. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I wish I put the number in here, but I think they said that people who work with color can distinguish like 400 shades of green.
Do you think that has something to do with like, because there's so much green in nature?
Yeah, like hunters and gatherers.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
That's cool.
Probably there's more green everywhere than there ever is anything else.
Yeah.
So, maybe also has to do with, and maybe it goes hand in hand, that the reason we have 3 kinds of cones in our eyes. There's a red and a blue and a green cone, right?
I don't know about. I'm not
Or
sure.
red, green, and yellow. I mean, red, blue, and yellow. Maybe.
Those are the primary colors, but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, are they primary because they're primary, or are they primary because that's our cones and that's what we see better?
Primary colors you can't get by mixing other colors.
You can't get them by mixing cones either.
I don't know anything about eyes.
Single cone color. Anyway,
We're gonna be so wrong about all of
this
that.
is the science part of the episode where we're wrong about it.
About everything we say.
Yeah, I'm glad this is a
Fine,
Hannah
anyway.
episode.
Moving on.
Anyway, so they chose those because it's less fatiguing and you can see more of the green than any other color. Later on, white phosphorus is what they chose because it was supposedly even less fatiguing than the green. And I think you get a little bit more detail and depth out of the white phosphorus than you do the green. So you can see have a little bit better depth perception, because that's always been a thing that was plagued the night vision stuff, especially if you have the PVS-14, which is just a single eye. You have a really hard time with the depth perception. So white phosphorus, you get a lot more depth out of, I think, is the theory on that. But that now modern movies and video games and stuff have completely switched to white phosphorus. So it's actually kind of funny, because if you go back to like the Splinter Cell games and stuff, they were all green. So when you put your night vision goggles on, it's green. And now like the most recent renditions of like Call of Duty and Battlefield and stuff all have, if you have night vision, it's white phosphorus. So it has like that blue, like a steel blue kind of color to it. So It's super cool. Anyway, I'm going to put a bunch of pictures in like the photo dump of like stargazing pictures.
Yeah, that would be good.
So everybody can kind of see like what it sort of looks like. But oh my gosh, this is driving me nuts.
What?
My tablet.
Did you open the news again?
No, I didn't open the news. I get my news from the most reliable source.
Reddit.
Cryptic symbolism in my dreams.
Oh my gosh.
So the new red phosphor color in Vietnam is starting to be issued in 1965, mostly to some special groups, airborne troops and pilots. It only took about a week for the soldiers' behavior to completely change. They were insubordinate. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, there's a 6-pound baby inside of me readjusting, so I also have to readjust.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm good. Just shifting.
You're just squeaking over there, just...
Yeah, well, the couch is squeaky, and I have to move a lot with her, so we're good. We're good. We're comfy now.
The soldiers were insubordinate, fighting amongst themselves, and they started focusing on the treetops and focusing on things that weren't there and things that the other people weren't seeing at all. And they started talking about things that weren't there too. And one of the most famous incidents, there's a bunch of YouTube videos and TikToks that have been made about this, happened during a helicopter patrol over a relatively peaceful area of Vietnam, when a gunner wearing the red night vision goggles opened fire at something at the same altitude as the chopper. The gunner cried out that he was shooting at demons, and he kept screaming about demons. The gunner described the beings as horrible looking with horns and flying toward the chopper. And the officers and pilots have been ordered not to wear the red night vision goggles, but an officer aboard the helicopter ordered the gunner to remove his goggles and then put them on himself, and he saw several grotesque winged humanoid creatures flying up to the treetops below toward the helicopter.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And you know what I just realized?
What?
I read a creepypasta on like the Reddit No Sleep a while back. And the story was about someone that had put one of those color changing light bulbs in their bedroom.
Yeah.
And as they were shifting through the colors, when they got to red, they would see scary stuff. And now I'm probably like, oh, I bet that was inspired from the stuff that you're talking about.
Could have been.
Maybe.
We'll get into it, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it's in here somewhere. Maybe. Interesting.
Maybe on page 3.
Maybe. Well, we're here now, so
maybe on page 4.
That was not an isolated incident.
That's actually terrifying.
For weeks, reports kept coming in about flying monsters spotted by soldiers who wore red night vision goggles. Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, that's really creepy.
Officers who disobeyed the orders and wore the red night vision goggles were they described seeing gargoyles or demons, and anyone who wore them indicated that the creatures would come after them as soon as they saw them. Use of the red night vision goggles was abruptly canceled after 60 days, and soldiers who wore the goggles were mentally unstable for months after the experience.
That's crazy. I wonder why people were still wearing them after they had been told not to. Just curiosity, I guess.
I guess curiosity, and to see like...
Why are they telling us not to wear these?
You know, like if your sergeant is like, I see demons and the stuff, and you're like, well, let me look just to see if like maybe you're being affected by something, or maybe you're going crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows?
Is it you, or is it actually the goggles? So, yeah, I guess it's just a curiosity thing.
But what's terrifying is that like if I handed you night vision goggles and I was like, look through these and see if you see that demon standing in the corner, and then you see it, and it's like, okay, well then that means it's real. Like if both of us see it.
And then even though you can't see it through like when you take the goggles off and you can't see it anymore, it's still there. You just don't know it's there unless you have the goggles on.
Yeah.
That's really scary.
Yeah, don't say that anymore. Don't say that ever again.
It's too scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
There could be something right now.
I mean, like
and we wouldn't
people
know.
flying in the helicopters, that they weren't seeing anything until they put the goggles on. The stuff that they saw probably didn't just appear because they had the goggles on. It was probably there.
we're going to get into.
That's so scary. I'm glad we're recording this not at night like we usually do, because usually it's dark out when we tell these stories. I'm glad that we had to change our schedule a little bit and it's still daylight.
If it was dark, I'd be wearing night vision goggles to go out to my car.
Yeah.
Or maybe I wouldn't be.
You probably wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I'd be too scared to see something.
Well, let me live in ignorant bliss.
But I don't have red, so it's okay.
True.
Red. The ghosts only exist in red. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Scary.
I have some stories for you.
Okay.
Sergeant James Thompson was patrolling the jungle one night using red night vision. Everything otherwise seemed normal until he saw a ghostly shadow among the trees. The movement was inhuman and distorted, phantom-like. Thompson rubbed his eyes, thinking, "Oh, excuse me."
You're excused.
Thompson rubbed his eyes, thinking, really abruptly interrupted my scary voice. Thompson rubbed his eyes, thinking it was just a trick of the light, until he put his night vision back on to reveal the spirits again, which apparently could only be detected in certain spectrums of light outside of our vision. So are these spirits of fallen soldiers who can't find any rest? Are they demons? Are they some other kind of jungle spirit? Find out next time on Country. We're continuing the episode.
We've never done a to be continued, have we?
Yeah, especially not 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
As soon as they appeared, they were gone. Similar to the Shadow People episode that we did. It's like as soon as you see them, they kind of disappear. Yeah. It is said during the time that they were testing the red night vision, as the battles got worse, so did the visions of the spirits. So I've got another story. Sergeant Rodriguez's story. It's one of the only ones I could find of so-called phantom stalkers, shadowy figures who are only visible through red night vision. They would appear and disappear seemingly at random. They were aware of his presence and made it clear by watching and following him, and they would distance themselves or disappear as he noticed them. Night after night, they would appear and seem to be able to anticipate his every move. Their movement wasn't human either. They almost floated across the ground and through the trees like smoke.
That's so scary.
But they would follow him, like, as they moved through the jungle, they would kept after him, sort of. Or maybe not after him, but they were around him all the time.
That for him.
Yeah. So what about the red phosphorus? What's special about it that makes it ghost and not green or white? Well, they didn't have white in Vietnam yet. So why not green?
Because red's a spooky color.
Well,
I don't know.
It's about half fake. The red color, they say, comes from the use of diacyanin dye, which is made of crystals that absorb the light that is outside of the visible spectrum for humans, UV and infrared. It will absorb, and it's able to emit that as visible spectrum light, pretty much the same way normal night vision does with IR spectrum and near IR spectrum light, but this is the picture I sent you. UV is where the ghosts are.
Yeah.
So
hang out.
Yeah, so apparently the diacyanin dye was able to not only pull IR light, but the UV light as well. And so that's why you would see if the green phosphor is only picking up the IR light and you're not seeing ghosts, then the addition of UV and you see ghosts, then the UV is what the ghosts are. Does that make sense?
Say it one more time.
If you have regular vision and you can't see ghosts.
Right.
And then you add night vision and it picks up IR light and you still don't see ghosts.
Right.
And then you make new night vision that picks up both of those plus UV and then you see ghosts.
They're in the UV. Okay.
Then UV is where the ghosts are.
The layers. Yes. Yeah. It's in the UV layer.
It's the onion of ghosts.
Right.
Diacyanin dye was said to be the source of the red color, except for the fact that diacyanin is a bluish, sort of purpley color. So I don't know how that makes red. I guess technically it would be up to the actual lens and the film color that you use, but you could technically make whatever you wanted to, but if you wanted the diacyanin to be used in the light amplification tubes, it would probably end up being like somewhere between blue and purple. So, not red.
Purple has red in it.
Yeah, purple's not a primary color, Hannah.
Yeah, that's why I said it has red in it.
Okay. So there's actually a guy that is making red night vision now, who's like developing
just for fun.
Yeah, and it doesn't have anything to do. He posts on his Instagram like creepy photos.
Yeah.
Of like, looks like ghosts and shadow figures in the red night vision. It's not really like anything special. I'm going to get into it a little bit later, but you're literally just using a red phosphor screen. It's not like what they said that they were using the diacyanin dye for is the actual light amplification, because it pulls in light that's outside of the visible spectrum, and that's what makes the red. That wouldn't make red if they're not filming it with something else. So my larger point is the red doesn't make the ghosts.
The UV.
The UV makes the ghosts, and the UV is visible because of the diacyanin dye.
Okay.
But we're going to get into other reasons why this is fake.
So I might be misunderstanding. So the guy that's like making his own and just using the red phosphorus but doesn't have that dye shouldn't really actually be seeing creepy stuff?
No,
it's not picking up UV.
Not anything more than what normal people see.
Okay.
So.
Okay, got it.
Like the normal amount of ghosts.
Right.
So like 4 or 5 a day.
That's so many. That's way too many.
Anyway, the videos that the TikToks that are made of, and like the YouTube videos and stuff, typically say that diacyanin was made illegal. That's completely untrue. You can actually buy it online, I think. It's kind of regulated now because they found out that it's toxic, but
fair enough.
It was used in a bunch of stuff. They just happened to say that it was used in these night vision goggles, and then people say that it's illegal, even though it's not. It's just controlled, and it was discontinued in almost everything that it was used in because it's toxic. It actually comes from coal. Mm-hmm. There's like a layer, I think it's a layer under the coal that is a certain kind of material that these crystals come out of, and the diacyanin dye is made from those little crystals.
I have a question about it being toxic, but I feel like you might be about to answer it later, so we'll circle back to it if it's not answered.
Okay. It's possible that the toxicity was affecting the people, wearing them up to their faces.
That's my question. Literally in the next sentence, that was my question.
Affecting their perception and making them see things that weren't there.
Yeah.
Maybe. But you would think that if this was true and that they were like, hey, we developed these night vision goggles and it was making people see things.
Yeah.
You'd think there'd be a study at some point about that. Like, oh, hey, by the way, if you use this stuff and hold it up to your face for a long period of time, it's going to affect your brain and how you perceive stuff. You'd think that would come out at a certain point, and not just that it's toxic to humans. Like,
yeah. So I was kind of thinking, I was going to ask if they could have just been seeing things because that dye near their face was toxic. But there's a lot of chemicals and like ingredients and stuff that on their own are toxic, but when they're mixed and processed to be manufactured into a product, it's not necessarily toxic anymore. So if that stuff was that toxic to actually be causing problems, you'd think there would be more known about it.
Yeah. You would think that, yeah.
And also if it took more exposure, I mean, that would be really quick for all that to happen within 60 days. You said was when they quit using it? The red night vision was after 60 days of those weird reports?
Yeah. But
that's really fast for it to affect people that badly if that's what it was.
Well, I think if you're holding it up to your eyeballs for, 8 hours at a time.
Right. But see, like the dye's not like directly in contact with your eyes.
Yeah, but
it's to be pretty potent.
It's emitting the light.
Yeah.
I think. So that the theory, I guess, would be that the light emitted almost like a radioactive kind of feature. It's just toxic being near you.
Yeah.
Which I don't get that at all. I don't really buy it. But
right.
Anyway.
That answered my question, though. Good job.
It's pretty hard to find anything on the material outside of, well, this material specifically or the red night vision.
Yeah.
Outside of TikToks or YouTube videos or paranormal and ghost hunting forums.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like it was used for very long, so it probably is hard to find stuff about it.
Well, I don't think that it was used at all.
Oh.
So I'm going to get into that a little bit later.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I don't... As for the legitimacy of the stories, that's how my next paragraph I wrote starts out.
Yeah.
I don't find it very convincing. That was my next sentence.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't really buy it. There's no actual reports from the military of red night vision, only green during that period. And all the stories that I found are on paranormal forums or subreddits with literally no source material.
Right.
That, trust me, bro.
Yeah.
So, pretty much every video you see on this stuff, there's someone in the comments saying, yeah, it's true. My uncle was a gunner in Vietnam. And either he had firsthand experience, or heard stories from another platoon. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just creepypasta stuff. There is some development, like I said, of red phosphorus night vision. You can pretty much make it any color as long as you get that color film phosphor lens. But there's a guy I actually follow him on Instagram that I mentioned earlier. I think his name is actually Red Phosphor.
Okay.
But he's making red phosphor night vision. And it's, I guess, isn't just the colored lens. He's actually using it in the light amplifier. Similar to like exactly what green or white phosphorus is. But you can actually find like colored lenses online for like $40. You can buy them for your night vision and stick them on, and it's just kind of looks stupid. Anyway, the pictures that he posts are sort of like, they're just kind of creepy pictures. I might pull some and put them in the photo dump, but
you should give him some credit.
It seems like it would be hard to wear these for like long periods of time. And especially if you're trying to do any kind of task, like that's the big thing for like everybody knows that I'm into like the shooting competitions and stuff. There's actually some places where they've done like 2-gun competitions with night vision or like nighttime competitions.
That's cool.
And the hardest thing that people think, they're like, oh, I want to get night vision and shoot with them. It's like, that's not even the hardest thing. The hardest thing is doing literally anything.
With night vision?
Yeah. Like walking around
Why
is hard.
Is that? Is like your depth perception different, or you're just not used to seeing that way? Your
depth perception is a little different. It's harder if you have just the one eye, the PVS 14.
Yeah.
Because you only have one eye that you're actually using.
And that would throw off your depth perception anyways, even if you're just one regular eye.
So even if you have binos, then you still have a little bit of depth problems. The bigger issue is that your field of view shrinks down way far.
Oh.
So I think you have like...
Do you like lose peripheral vision?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
vision, kind of.
I think you have like 150 degrees or 135 degrees or something of actual field of view vision, including like your peripheral, like...
Yeah.
So... And it's a little bit different depending on the person, I guess, but... When you go to like binocular night vision, there's devices you can get that are like slightly panoramic that are give you a little bit further field of view, but your typical field of view is going to be like 90 degrees or like 100 degrees maybe.
Oh, that's not
so
odd.
Yeah, no. So it's hard just walking around at night, and especially if you're not used to it, but like just your fine motor skill stuff is hard because not only is depth perception to a certain extent a little bit of an issue, even if you have binocular night vision, there's a focusing ring. So you focus it depending on how far you want to see. So if you want to do stargazing, you focus it kind of far out, like to close to infinity or whatever. But everything that you're doing, like handheld wise, is in front of your face, like within a couple of feet. So it's
like having extreme farsightedness or extreme nearsightedness.
Yeah, so if you hold your hands up in front of your face, which I'm doing now and nobody can see me because we're not on camera, you can't see nothing.
Right. Because you have it focused far.
Yeah. So, and so there's been stories before where like people are like, yeah, I had to, watch like some podcast of like the guys that raided Bin Laden or whatever. They're like, yeah, we opened this chest and we had to like focus our night vision down so we could see what's in there because it's you.
Would that be like a reason why people might only wear the one eye night vision so you could use your other eye to see up close, or it's just different technology?
People say that and I just don't get it because they're like, oh, well, I'm preserving my night vision in my other eye. And it's like, okay, well, why? Because the only reason you would take your night vision off is if you're going into a bright space and you don't need them. And in which case you're already adjusted to a bright thing. So you don't need your night vision. And then like the actual night vision adjustment your eyes go through. And then the other thing is like, well, or you take them off so you can do something like in the dark. But at that point, if it's so dark that you can't see, then you can't see with your normal eyes anyway. So
there was a Mythbusters episode of why pirates would wear an eye patch. And the lore behind it was that they would keep one eye under the patch so it was adjusted to darkness. So if they had to go into like a cave or underneath the boat or something really quick to try to steal stuff, they would switch the eye patch over so that they didn't have to wait for their eyes to adjust to the dark. They would already have one that was adjusted. But I can't remember what the outcome of that episode was. Because I remember like the Mythbusters walking around with an eye patch and then they would go into the dark room and switch it over and try to find something in the room. But I can't remember what the outcome of that was, how it ended.
That seems more probable than, because if you're going from one really bright space to a dimmer space where you can still see stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like if you're using night vision goggles at night,
it's just
when it's dark.
Yeah.
You can't see anything.
Right.
Like, I understand you're like your vision adjusts to the dark. So if you're outside, and pretty much everybody has done this, but if you're outside and you go from, the sun being up to watching the sunset, your eyes slowly adjust and you don't even really notice it.
Right.
If you go inside to a bright area and then you step back outside, it's super dark, it seems like.
Yeah.
Because your eyes have now adjusted to the bright inside. But I'm talking about like it's midnight. You can't see anything anyway because your eyes aren't very good at seeing in the dark. And so if you have one eye in night vision and one eye that's in dark, it's not going to help you if you have to use that other.
I guess I just meant more of like the focusing issue. Like you have the night vision eye is focused on far away stuff, and then you have to try to see something. Like you said, your hands up close.
Yeah. Maybe
close your night vision eye and look through your regular eye. I don't know.
Maybe that if you have like a light on you, but it's still like at that point, just either focus down your night vision to be closer, or just pop them up because they're on a rhino mount. So you just pop them up and they go up onto your helmet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you pull them back down.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Or you get they're articulating, so you can actually just pull one eye up really quick while the other one stays down. It's kind of neat. So there's also if you watch the Cool Guy movies or like Call of Duty or something, they've got the 4 night vision goggles, and they're called GPNVGs. They're I forget what the acronym is, but it's panoramic night vision. So you actually have 4, and that spreads your field of view out to like 110 or something like that. It's quite a bit more than the normal like 80 or 90 that you get.
Yeah.
So though that's really what people have, like the generations of night vision have gotten good enough that we don't really need to amplify light anymore. It's just about seeing more things at one time. So, and being able to do normal stuff that, because like I said, the hard part about like wearing night vision isn't even like the shooting part. It's walking around.
Right.
It's like the dumbest thing ever. Like you trip over stuff all the time and like can't see anything. And then like, oh, you like, I tried to, I had to, the reason I have them is because we're testing it for some marketing stuff. And so I tried to load a mag. I couldn't get it. It took me forever. And it's like,
which is something you do like all the time.
yeah. Like I do it for competition, like fast under a clock. Don't mess it up. And then I put night vision goggles on and I'm looking at it and it's blurry and I can't see. And I'm like, I can't. I have a video of it somewhere because I was trying to record the thing for a banner that I have to do. And it's just me going like
That's
missing.
Funny.
Just missing. This for like 10 seconds.
Nice.
Just missing. And I just put everything down and I was like, I'm going to retry because this is stupid. But anyway, back to the episode. We really went on a tangent there.
It's okay. It was a good conversation. And it was related.
So like you can use any color. This guy that's making the red night vision, it looks like you can't really see much. Like I would not want to wear these for long periods of time. Like even normal color, like it's weird to look at for normal periods of time. And then when you take them off after like a couple hours, it's odd to look at stuff in normal color, normal depth. It's weird. But the pictures that he uses are like I can't see anything. Like it's harder, it seems, to make out definition. So the fact that they say they used red because it's less fatiguing on the eyes does make sense, which I'm going to get into in the next paragraph. But the idea that it increases your depth perception and reflexes, I don't buy that at all, because even just looking at the pictures side by side between like normal colors and the red looks like a nightmare. Like literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
So anyway, red light has been used by like the military for various reasons. The two main ones are that it shines the shortest distance at night. So if you have a red light on trying to like read a map or something, you'll be harder to detect from farther away. And it'll preserve your actual eye adjustment to the dark better than any other color of light. So kind of the same thing that they were saying about the red night vision. The reason that they developed it was because it preserves your night vision going from daylight to darkness and vice versa, which red light does, but it's not for the night vision, for actual purposes is what it does. There's actually a lot of people, so Surefire makes this. It's a big famous product that like mountain climbers and everybody who has one of the, like has to wear a helmet and with a light on it for whatever stupid reason, divers use them and stuff. Put it on your helmet and it has a white light, a red light, and I think you can get models with IR too. But it's just because it's a little bit dimmer, preserves your night vision, and you're harder to detect with red light from far away. But anyway, there have been some real stories over the years from certain conflicts that involve either night vision or thermal and some other technology on aircraft that, whatever detection device you can name, that they've had some unexplained experiences or some creepy experiences. That's probably going to be a topic for future episodes. As for night vision itself, it does allow you to see outside of the normal spectrum of light. You can see the IR light. It's why you can use like active aiming devices like IR lasers and stuff. So you can't see them with the naked eye, but you can see them through the night vision. There's actually now, because right now here's a current event for you. The Russian-Ukraine thing is near peer conflict. So this isn't like the United States rolled through the Middle East and has space age technology, and like the Middle East does not have anywhere near the prevalence or technological capability of some of the gear that the United States was just putting out with normal soldiers. So they had night vision and could see anything at night, and like no one in the Middle East had night vision. Now they do for various reasons I'm not going to get into, but now Russia-Ukraine, both sides have night vision and high-tech night vision that's like very close to modern-day United States technology. And so they're all using night vision, and they're all using IR lasers. So the Russians, they've actually captured helmets from the Russians that they have an IR laser detection unit on their helmets, that if you're being lased by an IR laser, it'll beep.
Being lased.
Yeah, that's what they call it. You laze a target to either find range, it'll emit an IR laser, or just with like an actual active aiming device that's on a gun or on a turret or something.
Yeah.
These Russian officers will have a thing that's mounted on the top of their helmet that if it detects an IR laser go by or hit it, it'll beep and alarm them that, hey, you're being targeted right now.
Wow.
So that's kind of scary. Like you could imagine being like at night and then you just hear beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
And then like
alarming.
Going from completely like normal to like,
there's a laser on me.
Yeah. So, there's been some reports of more frequent UFO sightings with the proliferation of night vision technology in the United States. Like I said, you can just buy these and have them shipped to your door.
Yeah.
So lots of people have them, especially out west where you can just go out on like BLM land where they have like huge swaths of land that are just, you're not allowed to do anything with. It's wildlife. So you go out there, people will go out there and like just shoot in the desert. Kind of fun.
What is BLM land?
Bureau of Land Management.
Oh.
So it's
just like preserves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't have it here on the East Coast, if you can call West Virginia the East Coast. But we have like national park land, and we have state park land and stuff like that. We have public land places. But out west in like Utah, Arizona, Nevada, places like that, they have ginormous swaths of land that are public land. You do whatever public land activities you want to do. A lot of it gets turned into gun ranges because people just drive out in the desert and it's all flat, and they go out there and they shoot and then leave. And so it's kind of crazy. But lots of people have them out there because it gets super dark at night in the desert and there's no ambient light around, so you can just go stargazing all you want. So kind of cool. What are you looking at? Is there a ghost?
I was looking at the little ghosts on the shelves over there.
Oh, there is a ghost. So like also whenever you look in the sky with night vision, you see a lot more stars than you normally would because it's amplifying light. So you can see more stars than you would normally be able to with the naked eye. You can also see airplanes that you wouldn't normally be able to see, and you can also see UFOs.
Cool.
So plenty of people have there's been a couple of videos that I've seen. I'm never going to be able to find them now that I've mentioned it, but where people have put their night vision up to the sky and you can see stuff going crazy around in the sky. And it's like airplanes don't make those maneuvers. So they're like, what is this? This is nothing.
It's an alien.
Yeah. So lots of people reported seeing UFOs that you'd never be able to see with the naked eye. But because they can see IR, you can see the IR signature from the UFO. Kind of neat. There's also the David Fravor and Graves and stuff like that. The gimbal video that came out a long time ago, where they see the UFO in the IR signature of their jet gimbal. That's the camera there. So the recording of that, if you haven't seen it, look it up. There's a big recording of a UFO in a gimbal footage of an F-35, I think it is. But anyway, there's also giants in Afghanistan, in Kandahar. And people have seen those through thermal and night vision. And that's actually on the list for a future episode.
Yeah.
Because people have seen giants walking on their thermal and they're like, hey, well, what is that?
Why can't they see them with their plain eyes?
Because it's nighttime. They come out at night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think if I research it, maybe I'll find one that they seen during the day, but mostly it's the couple of stories that I've seen are like a sniper team that has a thermal clip-on.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking through their thermal clip-on, and there's a big compound that has a wall, and they know how tall the wall is. The giant is walking, and it's like twice as tall as the wall. And so the wall is, 7 feet. And they're like, there's a 14-foot guy walking around. And like, what the heck? So, and there's a lot of really historical culture, really cool historical culture stuff in the Middle East about like giants and stuff. They have like a whole mythos about them, red-headed giants and stuff. So the Afghanis will actually, and I think Pakistanis will dye their beards and hair and stuff red as tribute or not really tribute, I guess is the word, but reverence or whatever to these people that used to be walking around. I think it's the Muslim version of the Nephilim, if I'm not mistaken, even though like a lot of the Muslim stories are the exact same as the Old Testament Bible stories. So same. Turns out they happened in the same place. So what?
Get back to the story.
This is the last paragraph. There's definitely something out there that we don't know about. I don't know that it has anything to do with red phosphorus night vision.
You just decided that all of that was fake and didn't happen. That's your opinion of it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because and the TikToks and the YouTube videos and stuff are like, there was red night vision. It's like, I can't find anything about it.
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
Proof, then there's no proof.
No real government records about this. And the only actual stories I can find are people talking on like Reddit and like paranormal subreddits and all this stuff. So I don't like, it's definitely like there's something out there in like the non-visible spectrums, whether it's like government or alien or spiritual or some other fourth thing or a combination of them.
What's making you say that though? That there's definitely something out there in the non-visible spectrum. If you couldn't find anything to back this up, what's making you say that there definitely is something?
So maybe I shouldn't say the spectrum. I just mean like there's something there in general that we can't see in the visible spectrum. So whether you'd be able to see it in any other spectrum, I don't know. But there's definitely like something weird, And the fact that like, so you can see the UFOs and stuff through night vision or like other technology through night vision that you wouldn't be able to see normally. And they're flying around at night and it's like, okay, well, you can't see that typically with
just because it's dark though.
Well, there's no lights on them. And so either that's government testing something and they don't want anybody to know about it because they don't have any signal lights on it, or it's aliens, and aliens classically do not use signal lights.
Right.
They're the white BMW drivers of space.
Oh my gosh.
Or, and when if you're talking about spirits, it's like, okay, well, there's definitely something around that we don't see, but whether that's like I don't know that it's ghosts of like dead people, ghosts, but like spiritual stuff, maybe. And maybe it's possible that you could develop a technology that does see like a certain spectrum of light that you would be able to see something of them. I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen like in our lifetime or ever, but that's all I'm saying. There's definitely something that we can't see that's somewhere. Red phosphorus isn't the answer to that. Specifically because the technology that the creepypastas say is doing it isn't the thing that's even possible of doing red. And it's just seems more so like a creepy war story than anything else. So I will say two things before we wrap it up though. The bigger thing that I think it goes back to is like you've got squeaking.
Hi. Here, we gotta wrap it up or we gotta take a break. So uncomfortable.
I think it's really just a creepypasta thing. So the bigger thing is that like people are making up a story about a creepy thing in war, about a technology that isn't really super well understood to the general public. And which is fine, like whatever, make up a story. But I'm more irritated that I thought this was like a thing that I would find more information on. And I started researching it for this episode and I was like, well,
you got tricked.
It's just Reddit stories.
It wasn't a real story.
And TikToks. But now all the TikToks are like, yeah, this technology was used and it makes, it's like, no, first of all, it wasn't used. There's no record of it. And it doesn't make red. So they got to use something else to make red. And also, Joey was telling me that when he was in Iraq, there was a brand new private that just showed up and he was doing observation one night and it came over the radio that he was all freaking out and stuff because he saw a lady walking on the road wearing white. And her skin was completely white and stuff too. So the lady in white story. And he was like, I never knew if he actually saw anything because he wasn't like in his company or platoon or whatever. But it was like this thing that kind of ran up the chain and like super spooky. So, yeah.
Still a good story, either way.
So.
Still spooky.
I'm mad about it. Spent all this time researching about fake red night vision. But night vision's cool. You should definitely go stargazing. So, anyway, next episode will be Hannah.
And I have no idea what it's going to be about. But that's okay.
Yep.
It always comes together at the end.
Oh, I was going to say at the beginning, I was talking about that yogurt shop. I want to do an episode about the pizza collar bombing thing.
No, that's...
Have you heard of that?
Sad.
Is it sad?
If I'm thinking of the same thing you're thinking of, it's not a creepy story, it's just sad.
Oh, maybe not.
Maybe I'm thinking of something different, though.
Maybe not. I saw, like, 5 minutes of a video about it. And I was like, that would be a good episode.
Well, we could be thinking of different stories.
Maybe I should watch, like, a more longer form video and then find out if it's sad or not. That makes me feel bad.
Next episode's going to be a surprise, but it'll be good.
Well, the next episode will actually be next week from past us. But to future us, it'll be, well, also next week. We're going to do this all night.
You're about to end this episode by yourself because I'm tapping out.
Thanks for listening. Follow us, Country Roots Creeps, Instagram and Facebook. And, gotta think of the outro. Be safe driving home. Watch out for the naughty ears.
Bye.
Forgot it for a second. I was like, what comes next?
Bye.